Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Update review. It's been 9 months since I bought this ASUS TUF F17 gaming laptop, and of course I did some upgrades to it. Obviously, I went from 16 gigs of RAM to 32 gigs. Massive improvement in everything. And of course I did take the factory half a terabyte Gen 3 or PCI Express 3 drive, moved it to its proper slot because there are two, and I put in a 1 terabyte Gen 4 or PCI Express for 7,000 megabit per second drive into the PCI Express 4 slot, NVMe, and wow, massive difference. The thing is only like 3 minutes behind my Mac M1 Mini now, compared to being like 13 or 15 minutes behind. It was ridiculous. Now it's only 3 minutes slower. But big improvements, man, like seriously. However, Windows 11 on the other hand is chewing up 8.5 gigs of RAM just to get to the desktop now. Gotta thank Microsoft for that. Congratulations, thank you for sucking away all of our RAM, making us spend more money. Anyways, I'm really concerned about Windows 12 at this point. And further Windows 11 updates between now and then, how much more RAM I'm going to lose. But I still have plenty of RAM left over for my games and stuff that I play, and I do have quite a few games. I've got The Godfather, I've got Skyrim, Far Cry 1 and 2, haven't reinstalled 3 yet, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3, Unreal Tournament 2004, Cyberpunk 2077. Now that's a game that's raunchy on RAM and video power. Want some processing juice too. Minecraft, of course, is a rendering hog for video. We've got the Return to Castle Wolfenstein, got Need for Speed Underground 2. I'm surprised it actually even runs. So we do have quite a few programs, and I still have a lot of games I've not installed. I do run this thing in performance mode, so I'm averaging 3.4 to 3.7 gigahertz, average speeds for the clock on the CPU, and it is an 8-core CPU that is clocked at 2.3 base, but will overclock in turbo mode up to, I believe it's 4.1 or 4.7 gigahertz. So I don't run it in the turbo mode full time, but I do run it full time in this setup, and it works fantastic. I also run out the HDMI port into a 4K 60 Hz display, so I can play the majority of my games that will run into 4K resolution. I play them in 4K because I love the picture. It is just phenomenal. Although the 1080p built-in display is also phenomenal too, which I'm very impressed with at 144 Hz. I do prefer the external much larger display, but also much higher resolution. So yeah, you need some puppy power like RAM and faster drives and all this to really help you out a lot, no matter which way you go. But it is still a great machine. I still really like it, and I better because I still have like 26 payments left, or 25 or 26 payments left on it. Either way, I mean, it's financed through MDG because it's the only way I was able to afford it. But regardless of that, even with having that 4 gig Nvidia 3050 video card in there, it still does a great job for gaming. Now, it's probably not going to play the newest, latest, greatest hardcore games, which is fine. I don't really care. Mainly because I don't get a lot of time for gaming except in the winter time anyhow, because I do have my regular job, plus I teach music, plus still trying to keep up on other YouTube stuff. I've got a lot on my plate, so it's not a priority for me to have like a really top drawer machine, but this thing is still pretty good machine for gaming, I gotta tell you. And if you're just getting into the gaming world and you don't want to spend $5,000 or $10,000 on a really high-end system, this thing for the $2,000-ish mark works really good. Okay, now this is Canadian dollars, keep that in mind too, right? And our Canadian dollar actually does kind of suck right now too, on top of all that. But prices go up either way because inflation is just nuts all around. But it's still a great computer, even 9 months later. It's doing a great job. Now, I am going to pull a little experiment because ASUS says this thing maxes at 32 gigabytes of RAM. However, according to another site online that I found, this thing will address 64 gigabytes of RAM. So today I'm ordering my 64 gig upgrade kit, and we're going to try it out. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I can always send the RAM back for a refund. I love Amazon for that. So I am going to give it a shot, and if it addresses the 64 gigs, fantastic. And then I'll see if my little HP can handle 32 gigs, because right now it's at 16. And besides, both computers use the exact same RAM, so I don't see any reason why the HP shouldn't accept 32 gigs. But we'll see. If the 64 works in this, fine. Then at least I know I got another couple of years that I won't have any issues whatsoever as far as, you know, Windows and how much RAM it's going to suck over the next few years, and my games. And there are more higher end AAA games I can still play on this thing, even with the current video card. And I did figure out how to actually turn off the internal built-in Intel video, which just shares system RAM, period. My Nvidia at least has 4 gigs to itself, and then it'll share system RAM if it needs it. But having that internal in there, where it is set up by default to just use the lower video power, it's kind of like, alright, so it does save on battery time, I get that. And it will auto switch seamlessly between itself and the Nvidia. But any of the games I have, because the amount of RAM in my computer currently, there's more than enough RAM in there that even Cyberpunk, running off of just the Intel graphics, works pretty good. But I wanted better out of Cyberpunk because it is a raunchy game, and it prefers a real video source. I found out how to switch that other one off so that it's never active, and this way I run pure Nvidia, and that really did improve Cyberpunk quite a bit for FPS and just all-around gameplay, period. And it is the it's the most demanding game I have in the computer currently, and that made an improvement, so quite happy. There are better computers out there for the money, I get it, and I'm fine, but you know, I'm not made out of money, so you know, I kind of like buy what I can at the time that I can afford that's going to work for me, and this thing will do the job for me for the next few years. I have no problem with that. And Apple has just released not only the fact that we got M2s, M3s, we're going to be heading into M4 territory by next year at some point, and Apple has also decided they are diving in full bore into AAA gaming capabilities on the Macs. So yeah, by the time I go to replace this, I should be able to just, instead of having a PC in the house, I should be able to just do everything on the Mac at that point. Especially with what Apple's doing. So my next Apple upgrade will be into a higher end system like an M4. So I am kind of waiting things out because Macs are expensive regardless, but PCs are too. And you know, I've spent more on this PC than I've got tied up in my M1, and my M1 will still outperform this thing in anything to do with video editing, desktop publishing, graphic arts and design, and music. So you know, I get better quality output, I get better speeds, and yet I've only got 16 gigs of RAM sitting in that little M1 Mini, and that's what it maxes to anyway. And I got a little 3,000 megabyte per second drive in the Mini, and even with the 7,000 megabyte per second Gen 4 in this thing, it's still behind the Mini by 3 minutes just in video editing alone. And still, I get better quality output, even on the video side, graphically with the Mac. So, yeah, whatever. It is what it is. But you're going to pay for gaming systems and for capabilities regardless. So Macs technically aren't more expensive than PCs like a lot of people say. Macs are really expensive. Well, Macs do currently suck for gaming. I give it that, okay? Honestly, they do. But that is going to be changing very, very drastically. And that was just recently announced in the last few days. So that's good news for Apple. So if Apple can kick butt in the gaming world, well, hey, I can finally annihilate PCs out of my life completely at some point, but not for another couple of years. So that's okay. anyways, I still stand behind the fact that this is a fantastic computer, and it's definitely well worth the buy. There are now better computers than this coming out of MDG with a lot more powerful processors, more powerful video for only within about $100 more than what I paid for this. So it's kind of like, well, you know, I wish they had a trade-in program, because I would definitely trade in and get something better, but unfortunately they don't. So you buy it, you're stuck with it, kind of thing, right? At least until you pay it off. But yeah, so, but otherwise, yeah, I'm quite happy with how this thing performs. I'm not disputing that at all. It works fine. And if something does happen to my Mini in the next couple of years, I know I can still do video editing at least on this, but music is like totally out of the question, just because the cost of the programs are nuts when I have everything for free from Apple. So, you know, it's kind of like, well, you know. Yeah, otherwise, yeah, video editing definitely great on this thing, and I do have another Mac as a backup source anyway, so I'm not going to be hurting if something does happen on Mini, at least not from the music side. I definitely don't have another Mac in here that can do video editing the way my Mini can, so I would switch over to the PC temporarily, at least if I had to. But I'm not worried about my Mac anyways. I've never had a Mac die on me, so far so good over, you know, eons. But yeah, I think it's a great system, and the display, definitely that 1080 display is freaking awesome on this computer. I'm very impressed with it, but I just don't use it. That's the thing. I have it plugged into an external 4K, and I leave the lid shut on this thing, and that's how I do it. I kind of work it like a desktop kind of thing, right? And where it's set up on the table, I really don't have the access point to really, you know, set up a keyboard and mouse in front of it properly, you know, or even use what's built in properly because of where it's set up on my desk. So I do have Bluetooth keyboard and mouse, and then I sit in front of the same 27-inch 4K display on my PC as I do for the Mac, so because they both share the same monitor. But it works, you know, it gets the job done for me, so I'm happy. But if you are thinking about getting one of these 17-inch ASUS TUF machines, they are really good. I give them that. And you've got Thunderbolt externally. You've got that internal PCI Express 3 and Express 4 slots there. You know, you can definitely upgrade the RAM for sure to 32. We're about to find out. It's going to take about a week, I guess, because they're talking June 12th by the time I see the upgrade kit. So today's the 7th, so at some point probably by the end of next week, I should actually have that 64 gig upgrade kit, throw that in, and see if it works. And if it does, you guys are definitely going to get a video from me that will be very exciting. And if it doesn't work, well, I'll let you know that too. So, you know, because I think what I'll do with that is we'll install the RAM and I'll flip the laptop over. At that point, we'll do the installation and we'll turn it on live and see if it does it. You know, it's either going to work or not work. That's all there is to it. But either way, I think that's how we'll do that video, just to have a full out, this is how it's being done, and we're going to take out these and put these in, and boom, and turn it on and see what happens. Either works or it don't. But if it don't, well, at least I can send the RAM back, you know, because it's just a compatibility issue at that point. So anyways, we'll be definitely in touch with you guys over that one. But in the meantime, you know, 32 gig of RAM is still fine at this point. The Gen 4, I would definitely go to that 7,000 megabit per second Gen 4 drive, put that in, and you are definitely going to see a lot of improvements in everything on this computer, totally. So that is definitely going to help, because 16 is not enough. It really isn't. Not when Windows is chewing 8.5 out of you already. That doesn't leave much for gaming, video editing software. It doesn't leave you much for much of anything, really, to be honest. So 32 is kind of like the new 16, you know what I mean? 16 gigs was fine at one point, but not anymore. And it was never fine even from the get-go for me, especially with Cyberpunk. Definitely not. It was very borderline. And even running Minecraft is borderline, because even that was 16 gigs of RAM even on my Mac. You know, it's chewing up like, you know, total of 9 gigs plus, you know, in no time flat. You know, so, and the Windows OS is chewing up double the RAM pretty much that the Mac does. and the Mac's running the most current version of its Mac OS, which is Ventura. So, you know, it's using half the RAM that Windows does. So yeah, 16 is kind of getting to be the new minimum for Mac too, like bare minimal. You know, so things are changing a lot in technology, really super fast. So it's kind of hard to keep up with stuff. You know, you really got to start thinking more ahead of the game now when you're buying computers than ever before. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with this thing. Still a great machine, still loving it. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you have one of these ASUS TUFs, let me know if you've even done the 64 gig upgrade to see if it worked or not for you. And you know, just tell me your experience with this computer, if you've had any issues or anything, but I've had none. I've had absolutely zero issues and problems with this thing at all. Even when I put the new drive in, the 1 terabyte, the Gen 4, all I did was clone my 500 to it, and you know, wiped out the 500 afterwards, and that was the end of it, and it's been fine. No problems at all. And so anyway, that's all I got for you on this one, guys. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, see you in the next one.